This video is about the world's largest population and its car market, which is experiencing rapid growth. But this one isn't about China. It's about India, now the world's most populous nation, and the fourth largest auto market, just recently passing Japan. It's experiencing rapid growth, but it's very different from other markets, and I wanted to provide an overview of some of the opportunities and challenges there. And since I'll be talking about companies outside of the US, I just wanted to apologize in advance for getting their names wrong. You could say I'm sorry for getting their names wrong. Yeah, you get it, like not sorry, but sorry. It's a homophone, a play on. Oh, come on. Why am I getting cut off in my own video? India, huge population, less land area than China or the United States. That results in even more densely populated cities. This causes transportation and infrastructure challenges, and you see that reflected in the cars on the road. In the early 1990s, India went through economic reforms that have slowly led to advancements in GDP and wages. India is currently the fastest growing of the big economies. It recently surpassed some familiar names to fifth on the list, and before the end of the decade, it will be number 3 in the world. The economics, though, are not all that rosy for India. While its cities are crowded, 65% of the population live in rural areas. Half of the people rely on agriculture to make a living. For them, policies that favor the domestic auto industry and large corporations have very little appeal. Unlike many other developed countries on the list, India's population is much younger, making it more likely to continue economic growth for decades to come. India's economy does not rely heavily on the export of goods like China. It's more of a provider of services for export, and much of its economy is driven by domestic consumption. But they want to grow its exports of manufactured goods, including cars. Let's look high level at the types of vehicles in India. Medium and heavy duty vehicles are mostly for commercial use. Included in that are buses, which for a large population country are vital for transportation. India has announced plans to deploy 10,000 e-buses, battery electrics, over the next few years. That's a big opportunity. Light duty vehicles include passenger cars and increasingly popular SUVs. And we need to talk about two-wheel and three-wheel transportation. Both are very popular. The iconic auto rickshaw in India still plays a huge role in large cities. Last year in India, 4.1 million automobiles were sold, plus about 1 million three-wheelers. And about half of those new three-wheelers are electric. In fact, I might be tempted to do a video focused on the three-wheel market in India and its transition to e-mobility. So let me know if you think that's a good idea. At the beginning of this video, I talked about the tremendous opportunities in India and challenges. Population density, traffic, roadway infrastructure, and environmental concerns. Those are all problems the automakers need to deal with. And another thing is the government and their policy towards imported cars and imported car parts. India's economic reforms of the 1990s really haven't advanced very far, and when it comes to automobiles, it's created some unusual market conditions that automakers need to take into account. The most dominant automaker in India is Maruti Suzuki. It was established as a joint venture between Suzuki of Japan and the India government. Following its reform, India, like China, allowed foreign companies to invest in the country. Suzuki increased its stake in Maruti Suzuki, and many other automakers took a shot at the India car market. But it's not easy. If you want to import cars into India, they're going to get hit with a hefty tax. And I mean hefty. Cars are taxed between 70 and 100% depending on the price. If you're rich and you really want that European luxury vehicle, you can afford it. But outside of that, it's very difficult to operate this way. A trick that automakers have used in other emerging markets is a CKD operation, short for complete knockdown. With this, subassemblies and components, including car stampings, are shipped in with final assembly done in country. This provides a boost to the local industry while still allowing automakers to leverage their global operations, but they get taxed at 35%. Ouch. The next step would be to fully assemble vehicles in India. but ship in many of the components from your existing suppliers elsewhere. And India taxes these anywhere from 7.5 to 15%. All this is not unique to India, protectionism. Governments all over the world set up high taxes and tariffs to encourage domestic manufacturing by punishing imports. But India has some awfully high numbers that make business decisions difficult. On top of that, India has the 4-meter rule that taxes vehicles longer than 4 meters at a higher rate, forcing automakers to focus on shorter vehicles that may not already be in their portfolio. All these taxes and regulations result in a very skewed car market. Maruti Suzuki, as I mentioned, is dominant from a market share. They're located in the north near Delhi. Tata Motors, they're spread out across the country. Mahindra Auto is mostly located in the western and southern part of India. Hyundai, Kia, and Toyota, they all do well in India. Their investments are paying off. Often these Western brands set up shop in the area surrounding the port city of Chennai, earning it the nickname the Detroit of India. In the others category is a pool of manufacturers struggling to be relevant. Ford, for example, manufactured the EcoSport in India and exported it to other markets, including the US, but the limited market share made it difficult for them to continue operations. Volkswagen Group, which includes Skoda, has struggled for years, but it's giving it another go under its India 2.0 strategy. Announced in 2018, its goal is to develop cars better suited for the market, and their first vehicles have done better. The transition to electric vehicles is a disruptive event. It provides an opportunity to remake the India car market. Maruti Suzuki is late to embrace EVs. Their first model will launch at the end of this year. It's a great opportunity to catch the market leader napping. Tesla and BYD certainly are interested in this market, but again, it won't be easy. The Tesla Model Y and Model 3 are longer than 4 meters, so taxed higher, and current sales of EVs in India are not yet large, so the business case to build a plant needs to assume a lot of growth. Even if you did, you would probably want to import the batteries and the electric motor, and those would get taxed when entering the country. The BYD Seagull is under 4 meters, but if imported into the country, it would get heavily taxed. Oh, and as much as China and the US don't like each other, China and India have maybe even more issues being in such close proximity to each other. BYD made a proposal to manufacture cars in the Hyderabad region with a local partner, but the $1 billion investment was rejected last year by the government. When GM exited India, they tried to sell the plant to China's Great Wall Motors, but that deal was also blocked by the government. To smooth things out, the world sent its top diplomat, an orator of truth and civility, Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a controversial figure, but he will play nice to get what he wants. Prime Minister Modi also has his critics, seen as an authoritarian leader. That gets reflected in the policies discussed earlier, but he would like to have Tesla make an investment in India. He wants India's auto industry to become a leader in electric vehicles, and right now, they're not. Musk has been very open about his desire to sell Teslas in India. Every week, new reports come out about this possibility. However, reports are that they have canceled their plans for the low-cost Model 2 in favor of making robo-taxis off the same platform. And likely by the time this video gets posted, there will be more reports. So check the notes section below for any meaningful updates in this area. India updated its rules to make selling EVs a little easier and to promote domestic production. If a company, let's say Tesla, is willing to invest $500 million or more into domestic manufacturing, they'll be allowed to import up to 8,000 EVs into India a year at a reduced rate of 15% compared to 70% or more. Now, 8,000 vehicles a year doesn't sound like much, but the market is small right now. A little more than 2% of vehicles in India are EVs, but they desire to increase that to 30% by 2030. A couple of more things to consider about this. Number one, if you're going to make an EV in India, it would be good to have it designed for the India market. Short is good, but it still has to have a roomy back seat, Good ground clearance and thus SUV shapes are preferred over sedans. Number two, where will the batteries be made? I'm sure India wants to promote battery manufacturing too, but battery manufacturing can take years to ramp up. In the meantime, they would likely have to be imported from China and taxed on the way in. And finally, speaking of China, there's nothing in this law that explicitly prohibits Chinese manufacturers from taking advantage of this too, but everything gets approved by the government. I'm sure they would prefer to approve offers from American, European, or Korean manufacturers first. Japan too, but they're behind on battery electrics. I'm going to end this video here. It's a good overview of the India car market and its transition to electric vehicles. But I'm not done. In my next video, I'm going to go deeper into the EVs currently available in the India market and see how they compare to EVs elsewhere. And then I'm going to look at those three-wheelers. I think they're just really cool. Anyway, thank you for watching this video and keep an eye out for those next ones.